Hey everyone, today we are going to be looking at strings and string methods. Let's create a new Python file. Over here we call it strings.py. We're going to call it strings.py. Since we are learning strings, let's just name it strings.py. Now, as programmers, you're going to be dealing with a lot of text on a daily basis. And collections of text in Python are called strings, all right? And special functions we use to manipulate strings in Python are called string methods. You don't need to worry about understanding what functions or methods are. We're going to still look into that in more detail in the future. There are string methods for changing a string from lowercase to uppercase, removing white spaces, and many more. But let's look at what a string data type is. So basically, let me first of all give you a detail on what a data type is. In simple terms, a data type refers to the kind of data a value represents. So strings will represent text. In Python, we denote strings by simply putting quotation, single quotes like this, a pair of single quotes like this. There's an open and a close quote, quotation, or double quotes like this. With it still has to be a pair of single or double quotes. It has to be of the same kind, which means you cannot put a single quote and close it up with a double quote. So, like you've seen the previous Hello World programs which we wrote, you see we had to put everything in quotations, which means we're declaring strings. If you saw the name variable we declared, we put it here, which means this is a string. Let's look at some strings. 1, 2, 3, 4 is a string. Okay, this is a string because it's within quotations, within double quotes. Jane is a string. This long piece of text is a string. So all these are strings, right? This is a string, this is a string, and this is a string. So now, so you have to understand this. The quotes surrounding a string, right? These quotes, they are called delimiters, as they tell Python where your string starts and ends. That's why you always need a pair of them. So if we declare a string called greet and we say it is done as hello guys, let's put, because we're excited. Hello guys, and you can see we have to use a pair of it. So you could do it. This is the same as doing it with single quotes around it. It's basically the same thing. It's still a string. So this is a string, but you need a pair of it. This is, you should, okay, I'm starting my string, but you put a quotation, say, hey, I'm starting my string, and you end it, should, hey, the string ends here. So you use the delimiters of the quotations to signify where your string starts and ends. Let's declare some strings. We've done the greets. We can see string 2 could be you could do string 2 as we are number 1, string 3. All right, let's call it string 1, string 2. Let's be a little organized. And we can say she said, you can see we have a couple of strings here. This is a string. This is also a string. You see, we use the single quotes here since we wanted to do a double like since we want to quote someone, so we wanted to put it in quotes. So if we print this out, let's do some print statements to see what we're doing. If we do print and we say we want to print string 2 out, let's say we want to print out string 2, and we run this code, you see in the terminal it says she said I love Python with the quotations around it. So if I print string 1, if we print out string 1, it's the same thing. It says we are number 1 with the single quote around it, the apostrophe around it. It says it here. So you get to understand how strings work in this fashion, right? Let's say we want to look at another type of string, okay? Let's say we want to do a string which has both double quotes and an apostrophe within it. Let's look at a string like this. Let's call string 4. He asked me, how's your day, sir? We get to see that there's a problem here because we have a single quote and a double quote. So what happens is Python comes in here, it says, okay, I see a double quote. We're going to begin doing our string thingy here. So the string starts and it's like, oh, the end of a double quote. Okay, it ends here. And then this now isn't seen as a string. It's just seen as some sort of variable which is undeclared, and then it comes here. It says, okay, there's a code here. Okay, I got to start my string here, and it goes and it's like, oh, this string doesn't end because there's no other single quotations. Because if I put a single quote here, it makes this one a complete string, because we have the two delimiters, the beginning and the end. Now, to fix this, someone might think, hey, let's put single quotes around it, but it still doesn't solve it because now it goes up until here, and it's like it closes this, and then this is all. So a way to get around this is by using what's known as escape characters, right? And you can escape a character by putting the escape character before the character you want Python to ignore or escape. So the escape character is simply just a backslash. So if I do a backslash here, we've escaped this character. So it opens with a single quotation here. It goes, he asks me, it goes here, it comes here, it's like, okay, I have to ignore this because there's an escape character in front of it. It ignores it with, let's say, if we had double quotes around it rather than single quotes, you could still escape this one here, this one, and this one if you wish. And I don't think you even necessarily need to escape this one since you're working with double quote delimiters. So you get to see how you could do that. And if we print string 4, let me just take this one out, since you see on the console it prints as it's supposed to be. It says, he asked me, how should I, sir? You see, it works, as we expect it to. Now, let's say we want to work with a string. Let's say we have a string called like this, string 5. Let's say we want this to span multiple lines. A way to do it in Python is, let me first of all print out string 5 down here. And let me just comment out this print statement here. So we just have this one printing out. So if I run this code, you see here, it prints out, let me bring this up. It prints out this right here. Okay. Now let's say we want to break it apart and put a new line. A way to do it is by using this character here. The \n. This says go to a new line. Like when it hits this, it knows A. We have to take this to a new line. So if we print the same code, you see it says this is A and comes out multi-line string. Okay. But another way to do it, like let's say you want to maintain, because in Python we maintain white spaces in our this, and let's call this a string 6. We're going to learn about strings today. Let's see if I put white spaces here and I say hello, and these are just white spaces, by the way, and I say let's print string 6, and if I run this, you see it maintains the white spaces. You see it starts here, and if I print, let me just print the string 5 above so we see what's happening. String 5 has a new line thing going on for it. String 6, you see, maintains white spaces. So if I bring this here, wait, you see the new line now is the same. The other time it had a little white space to it because we had a space here. Like when you're working with strings, it preserves the white spaces you give it in Python because it's called a string literal. So it takes it literally as you want it to do it. Let's say you want to have a multi-lined paragraph, for example. You want to do a multi-line paragraph which has apostrophes and double quotes and all that, and you don't want to be using escape characters everywhere. Let's try to see what we can do with that. We can do that with a triple quotation pair. So you can either do 3 double quotes like this or 3 single quotes like this, a pair of each like this. Okay, so let's look at how we can get that done. Let's do a string 7 equals to this, then we put a paragraph in it. You see, when we have just these quotes around it, you cannot go to a new line. It gives you an error. Without, you have to put everything on the same line, then you can break it apart with this escape character. But if you want to do that, we just need to add 2 more of this. So we have 3 quotes, opening quotes here, and we add 2 here, so I have 3 closing quotes. Now you see everything works properly. And if I print this out, it's going to preserve the new line. I didn't need to do a new line like this. I just need to write it out how I want it to be, and it's going to take it literally as it's supposed to be. Even if I include tabs, it's going to follow the same spacing. If I say this should start within a tab, it's going to do the same thing. If I say this should go to a new line, and go back here, it's going to do the same thing all around. So if we print out string 7, we say print, we say string 7, and we print this out. If we look at our terminal here, you can see what it printed out right here. You can see the tab which we had here, the tab spacing here, and all the new lines and everything. And even if you had quotations within it, it's still going to preserve that without you doing the escape characters like this. So that's how you work with strings in that manner. Okay guys, so now this video is getting a little long, so we're gonna do string methods in the next one.